Well, this is the main greenhouse that I have. I have one other smaller one, but I've covered a lot of videos where I showed you how I planted some individual things in here. And what I wanted to do today was give you kind of an overview of how they're all doing. A short little report on each of them. Now, the first one, let's go over here and we'll look at the beets. Now, as you can see, the beets are growing very, very well. Some of them are 6-8 inches high down there. And if you remember, where these originally came from was this pie plate. Well, okay, let's step back a couple months ago and show you where all this started with the pie plate. Now, this is back on February 10th. I had these saved seeds. I found this pie plate tin, put some soil in it and put the beet seeds in it, and then we watered it down and put it in the germination box. Then 7 days later the sprouts were coming up and they all looked really good. Then of course the longer they were in there, the better they looked, until it came time to transplant them. Now that day came on the 20th of March, about a month and 10 days since they were originally planted. Now you can see here that I had to pull these beet seedlings individually out of that pie plate, which I soaked the soil in there a lot, so it was very muddy. So carefully pulled them out and brought them over here to the grow bed they were intended to grow in, drilled a hole in the soil with a pencil, and that's where they were going to stay. So about a month later we went from this to this. Okay, let's talk about how these brassicas are coming out. I've got 25 or 30 plants here, and they're Brussels sprouts, broccoli, or cauliflower. I don't have any cabbage in here yet. But let's go back to the beginning of these and show you how they got there. On the 21st of March, about a month and a week ago, I planted these seeds right here in a bunch of peat pots and put them in the germination box. Now you can see right here, brassica seeds are very tedious to work with because they're just so tiny. 9 days later, these were ready to be transplanted. You see me here pointing at the cauliflower that we're going to pull out of there first. There's also Brussels sprouts and broccoli in there too. We're going to take these over to the main greenhouse and get them transplanted. It always amazes me how fast brassica seeds germinate and grow into good standing seedlings. Now here's a little close-up of what those 9-day-old seedlings looked like. Now all I did to transplant them was lift those peat pots up whole and drop them into the larger net cups that were in that floating raft. I did that until I was all done. Well, this is about 10 days later, and it's really hard to see, but these are doing quite well. They have grown some, but I guess brassica plants really don't grow that quickly. Okay, let's go in here and have a look at the potatoes. Now, as you remember, I planted them all right in this area right here, and as you can see, there's nothing coming up yet. So, well, that's just the way things are sometimes. Now, you can see some, if I can see where it is, some stems sticking up here in a cup. Yeah, well, let's see. I think there's a stem right there. Yeah, and I think that's one right there. But they don't look like they're growing yet, so this is going to take a little while longer. So there's really nothing exciting here to report. Now there are a few more things that I want to report on. You can't really call them updates because I haven't done previous videos on them because they're so new. I will have videos coming up on those real soon. But for now, let me just give you a preview on what these things are. Now these are my grapevines. Now I've had these for more than 5 years, and some of them are green grapes, and then there's a few that are purple grapes. Now these give us a lot of grapes. There's much more than we can eat. And so what I'm going to try to do this year is see if I can make raisins out of some of them. So we'll see how that goes. Now this is celery that is growing wild right there on the edge of my fish pond. We never planted these. They grow there as a result of being wild seeded by some that we did originally plant. Now we didn't originally plant them anywhere near where they are right here by the fish pond, but they have spread all over the greenhouse, and they grow kind of like weeds. But weeds or not, well, they're not really weeds. They're actually good quality celery, but they grow like weeds. So, but in spite of that, they are absolutely delicious to harvest. So we cut them a lot. We just have to cut them back because there's just so many of them. And we do cultivate some. Let me show you that. Now this set of floating rafts here has young celery plants in them. Now these were just pulled out of growing in all kinds of places in the greenhouse like weeds. And we've put them in here because even though they grow around like weeds, in an aquaponic environment, they really produce. So we've got some wild ones in here, and we've also got the cultivated ones. Now these are some aquaponic cucumbers that we have just transplanted. Now there'll be a video out on these pretty soon. Now what we've got here just north, or is it south, I don't know, of the pie plate full of beets there, we have peas. Now these were just transplanted a few days ago, and there's some on this side and some on that side right here, and I've got 30 or 40 of these planted here. Now I will put out a video on these, and I think we got 30 or 40 plants or more than that, but these really produce well in the aquaponic environment. So I'll be sending some more updates on these later on.